I glean a lot of my insight as to what it is that I'm going to talk about on a daily basis based off of what I see out here in the streets. In the streets, on YouTube, everywhere. And it's getting bad. Last week I did a show where in the beginning I didn't know what I was going to say, but I definitely had some stuff to say, and I tried to kind of give my ladies a scared straight talk. It's already difficult enough for us men out here. I can't figure out for the life of me why women want to be independent. I don't understand that. Even as a young guy, when I was making a lot of money and I was making over $100,000 a year in the early 2000s, I stayed with my parents as long as I possibly could because I had no reason to have to move out. I didn't understand what the pressure was from society to continue to push us out there for the people. And so when you think about that, and we have conversations all the time, and I see it all the time where people say stuff like, don't push your kids out too early. Don't force them to go and get a job early. And, it doesn't really matter what part of that argument or what side of the argument that you're on. What I don't understand is, because I always related back to other things in my life or other things that I see happening in society that allow for me to make a more informed decision, right? Because I think that everything is interconnected, and if you can do something successful in one thing, then you should be able to translate that and do it successfully in another. For example, if you are great at your job, at whatever it is that you do for a living, let's say that you're a project manager, let's say that you are a UX UI, practitioner, if you are a software engineer, etc., then why wouldn't you also take those same skill sets and apply them into your regular life? That's what I do. I never went into trying to be a software engineer because I actually cared about software engineering. I leveraged it in order to try to build better e-commerce platforms that allowed for me to get a bigger bag. The software engineering was really just the residual that came along with trying to get a bigger bag, and so I needed more tools in order to do so, right? And so I then got a skill set that allowed for me to be able to fall back on for the rest of my life, right? But my point is that UX, UI, software engineering, that thing I took and I implemented it more into my regular life than I did into what I did for a living for the person that I worked for the company that I worked for, the organization that I worked for. And it's the same thing when it comes to every aspect of my life. Why wouldn't I relate it? Why wouldn't I use my expertise and leverage it for this over here? Let me break it down for you from another perspective, something that's a little bit more relatable to you. Why do we take advice? And I'm going to come back to this predator conversation. Why do we take advice from people that are not successfully married? One of the biggest criticisms that I get from a relationship perspective is, well, Anton, you've been married for 20 years since you was 22 years old. Why should we take relationship advice from you? Well, who the hell are you going to take relationship advice from if you can't take it from me? If I'm teaching you how to be successfully married because you don't see it anymore in society, and grandmama and grandpappy wasn't even happy when they was married, and all of my family behind me is doing the same thing successfully, including all three of my brothers, never been divorced, all of my uncles, mom was married until my father's untimely demise, and then she got married about 2.5, 3 years later. Who else would you take relationship advice from? That's why I then can't understand how you take business advice from people that have never built a business. How do you take money advice from people that ain't got no money? Who goes to the gym and get the fat trainer? You know what I'm saying? It makes no sense. So everything should be interconnected. And if you're successful in this thing, then it should be a reflection of what your life is here because you've implemented it over into this space. Similarly, when we're talking about predatory behavior in our streets and in our society, right? I would never push my daughter out. My daughter can live with me 30, 40 years old. I don't care how old she is. If she want me to build a wing over here, if she want me to make sure that My daughter has a house waiting on her whenever she decides that she wanted to get married and they wanted to move into their first place. She has a house waiting for her, or they can live with us, right? And if we tell our children, or we say that we would never push them out for people or for them to then be able to live this independent life, because really the reality is that we really just trying to push them out so we can live our own lives, because you really don't have no great relationship with the people that you're raising. Why would women, and I'm really taking this into consideration, and you guys know that I'm always open to the possibility that I'm wrong. And so I interact with the chat in order to get your insight, because I like to stay connected with the people. This is not just a monologue. This is me talking to you guys. I see you guys in the chat. What up, what up, what up? Why would women want to be independent of men? Who sold y'all that? Who told y'all that? Why do you feel comfortable going out at night by yourself? Why do you feel comfortable going out by yourself? Why do you feel comfortable letting people that you just met babysit your kids? Why do you feel comfortable with people that you've never met before and calling them your friends? Why do you feel comfortable not being under a man's covering and preferring to be by yourself? Now, if you just so happen to be doing your own things, I still think that it's steps that you can take in order to ensure that you protect yourself. But don't you understand that protection is proactive instead of reactive? Because if something already happens to you, that's what the police is for. They can't help you. The things that we want police presence for is to then deter crime from happening in our society or in our neighborhoods, so that we can then live a fruitful life. We want to send our children to the best schools, so on and so forth, right? I'll bring it back to you at the end of this conversation. Let's go and see what's happening out here in society. And this is one of the things that's been popping up on my timelines recently. And so I went off the reservation in order to do a little bit more research and see what's recently been happening all across the United States of America. Because just because we don't report on it and it's not something that's at the forefront of our minds does not mean that it's not happening. Let me show you how safe it is for you out here.
And good evening. Off the top at 6 tonight, a very disturbing Local 10 News exclusive. A shocking sexual assault at one of Florida's most famous landmarks, the southernmost point buoy. It was all caught on camera. Someone was watching the web camera perched above the southernmost point when that attack happened.
That witness immediately called Key West police. Let's get right to Local 10's Janine Stanwood live in Key West with the exclusive. Janine.
And prosecutors say that victim, a tourist, was sexually assaulted twice. The last time was right here at this very iconic landmark, which is very popular for tourists, all while that live webcam was streaming. And it turns out, you're looking at it live, that video ended up being a very critical clue in getting that guy arrested.
It looked like she was fighting. She fell flat on her face.
A terrifying and brutal attack at one of the Keys' most iconic landmarks. Watch as this man has a woman in a headlock. She's resisting. He then shoves her behind the southernmost point marker in Key West, where prosecutors say he sexually assaults her. Minutes later, she stumbles and runs. He zips up his pants. But what
Imagine when we didn't have the technology to be able to have 24-hour live streams on a webcam. I know you don't think that it can happen for you. I know you don't think it's possible. Think about it, though. Technically, this woman was lucky because he could have threw her over. Every single day, I need to clear out my cache on my phone. I need to make sure that I go through my Instagram profile and that I'm following the right people. I don't follow many people, but I need to figure out what it is that I'm liking that's starting to have certain things pop up on my Instagram feed, because every day I see, oh, this woman is missing, or that woman is missing, or this white woman is missing, or this black woman is missing. And then, of course, you guys want to make it a racial issue. And so as a result, what you do is you say, well, you start to compare it to how many white women is getting reported versus how many black people are getting reported. And then we fall away from the true purpose of why we should be having these conversations in the first place, is that people should not be getting assaulted, disappearing, ending up on the side of the road, the whole nine. This man on a webcam took this woman behind the Key West thing, did what he wanted to do, let her stumble away, and then zipped up his pants and walked away. Now, remember, this is one of the people that actually let her go, let her live. Why do you guys feel compelled to be independent, not be interdependent on, and remove yourself from your households in order to be by yourself? It's insane.
What you might not have known is there is a web camera right here live streaming everything. And it just so happens a 911 dispatcher 1,600 miles away in Boston was watching the webcam and calls Key West police.
I'm actually calling from Boston, but bear with me. This is going to sound crazy, but I'm at work, and I had the southernmost web point cam?
Yeah.
I could almost swear that I saw somebody get raped.
According to the report, witnesses in Key West also call police after seeing a nude female crying and screaming. Officers meet up with her at a nearby hotel and later learn she was reportedly raped earlier in the night off Duval Street. The man, identified as Kerry Calvin Gasag, claims he stepped in to rescue her and drive her away. Instead, he drives her to the iconic buoy and terrorizes her again.
Hold on. I wasn't expecting that one. I didn't see this story all the way up until this point. Let me tell you how god awful these streets are and why I didn't even want to have children, but then I reluctantly did. One of the best decisions that I've made, because I would never take my daughter back. Let me tell you how god awful we are living right now and what society has waiting for you. She was assaulted, so she reached out and cried for help. This gentleman right here said, okay, let me drive you over and help you. Put her in a headlock and then assaulted her again and then walked away. And somebody just so happened to be leveraging the technology that's available on the live stream and seen it happen. This man was walking with her in a headlock in Key West. Imagine what's happening in the back alley somewhere. Did you know that during the pandemic, one of the major concerns for most people, for most schools and principals and stuff like that, was that so many children was locked in a home with no way to be able to get out or get away from what was happening in their household, and they had no safe haven. And so it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, people being subjected to, I'm going to be reading that super chat shortly, thank you, people being subjected to the predators in their own homes. This is insane.
Raped earlier in the night off Duval Street. The man, identified as Kerry Calvin Gasag, claims he stepped in to rescue her and drive her away. Instead, he drives her to the iconic buoy and terrorizes her again, even returning to tamper with evidence.
He came back and scooped up her clothes.
Gasag is arrested and nearly 2 years later, on Thursday, pleaded guilty to all counts against him.
And it took 2 years just to even be able to get this guy to plead guilty in the first place. 2 years. 2 years. Let me show you what else is happening out here in these streets for everybody that's thinking that it's all cool and it's safe out here. Let me show you what else is popping.
A local pastor now facing continuous sexual assault of a child. According to official documents, Robert L. Carter repeatedly raped a young family member, even impregnating her.
Tonight, her father is speaking only to our Devin Clark, who is live outside of HPD headquarters with further details. Devin.
I got to tell you, this warrant states that the rapes started when this girl was just 7 years old and lasted well into her late teens, happening at least 600 times with a felony charge now filed. The alleged victim's father is speaking out, but we do want to warn you, what you're about to hear may be extremely disturbing.
She had been around this monster since she was about 6 years old.
This man asked not to be identified as to protect his daughter's identity. That isn't stopping him from speaking out about this man, 39-year-old Robert L. Carter, who he says was a family member to his daughter.
He's always been big to her, you know, and I had realized that she'd been fearful.
The man, whose profile on the Black Preachers Network website has him listed as a bishop and senior pastor, is now an accused rapist.
Let's stop there. Let's stop there. Let me be very, very clear. Very few things I'm willing to crash out in my life. I had a guy on Fight Club the other night tell me, Anton, I don't like the way that you hold me accountable. I'm going to pull up in your city. As a matter of fact, I got a court date. I'm already a felon. I'm already under arrest. I'm already under duress. I already got an ankle bracelet. I'm going to be pulling up in your city. Meet me at 1200 Telegraph, and I want to fight you. And I was like, 1200 Telegraph? Wait a minute. I had to bail somebody out of jail over there before. Ain't that the courthouse where the sheriffs are? I didn't know if he was trying to set me up or if he was just so angry at the fact that he had a court date on October 26th that he was willing to go back to jail and threaten me on camera, knowing that he was on probation and he had to go to court on October 26th. In order to be able to have this conversation in the first place. I said, no, you are not making a threat in which I've saved to my hard drive so that I can make sure that I get that over into your probation officer and to the presiding judge before October 26th so that that can influence the decision of whether or not they want to let you go home. It's crazy. It's crazy out here, right? And that was a known felon who calls himself a misogynist. And I said, man, I'm not crashing out for this guy. I have a beautiful life ahead of me. He has jail bars ahead of him. Why would I ever crash out for a man that I've never met in my entire life because he's offended at me holding him accountable for making bad decisions and admittedly putting his hand on women? Don't worry. We'll get all of that information out to you guys later. We want to make sure that this guy gets locked up. We don't want him patrolling the streets with assault on his mind. All right? But very few things I'm willing to crash out for. All right? Yeah, his name was Joseph. I don't know his last name. Our streets. Make sure you get with the ladies. Do a little bit of research. We're going to make sure that we get this predator behind bars. But very few things, yeah, he got an ankle monitor on. Very few things I'm willing to crash out for in my life. Very, very few things. This is one of them. There's no way in the world that as a father, listen, I know he on this live and he's speaking out and he want to make sure that he warns everybody else about the bishop, the head bishop, pastor at the church. Family. Is no way that when I find out, there's no way that I can't find out because I'm intimately connected with my daughter and I know everything that's going on in her life. I'm checking her. I'm talking to her. I'm having conversations with her. I'm warning her, hey, this is how you're going to go about doing things, so on and so forth. And this is one of the reasons why I keep talking about protection and provision is proactive. How do you not know what's going on for well over 10 years into their teens in their lives? How are you so consumed with other things that's going on in life to where you are not familiar with what's going on in your own household? Are you and the mother together? I have so many questions. And listen, I'm understanding. he and his daughter are the victims, but I'm just telling you, there's no way that the police could have got there fast enough before I did. It's no way. It's no way that the police can get there before I get there, and it's over. Ain't no talking, ain't no conversations, ain't even no fist thrown. It's all downhill from there on everything. On everything. There's no way I'm sitting here having a conversation with you on this newscast talking about it. No way. All I see is red. I'm raged. No way that I'm able to have this conversation talking about this Houston area pastor named Bishop Robert L. Carter 600 times. 600 times? No, check this out, though. It get worse.
I don't understand, how you can carry yourself, walk around preaching the word and living, alive.
According to Carter's arrest warrant filed last month, the abuse began back in 2008 when the victim was 7 years old. It states he would go in her room and make her perform a sex act on him on a nightly.
I just want to tell y'all what's out here. I'm literally showing you that you do not want to leave your daughter or you as an individual woman. I don't care if you white, black, whatever. You do not want to be out here unprotected. What up, Lauren? You don't want to be out here by yourself. It's hard enough as a unit. You got the whole world against you. We are more concerned with things that is not relevant to our lives and things that we need to be focused on. And this is insane. And guess what? Related to you. Related to you. You want to have a conversation about why everything is so messed up in the community? Why we're advocating for alphabet communities and all of that other type of stuff? You want to know why? It's for stuff like this. You keep talking about people are choosing for themselves. No, they got unresolved trauma because the number one reason why we're in this situation in the first place, in my opinion, is from fatherless homes, a lack of protection, too much freedom. And when people have the option to be able to choose for themselves, they choose wrong. They choose wrong. Absolutely, positively wrong. I am all over everything. I need to know what the hell is going on with every single person that's under my covering 100% of the time. That's just who it is that I am. And if you're not under my covering, God bless you, because it ain't nothing I can do for you. If you crash out, you just crash out. I'll call the police on my way. But why would you even want to be free in order to have certain things happen to you? You know what comes with freedom? Pain, suffering.
Basis.
How? How could you even get aroused? It doesn't make any sense.
No. How is he getting in the room? That's my question. Since 2008?
The warrant states the abuse got worse over the years and that it would happen in multiple locations, including their home when everyone was asleep, Carter's grandmother's home, and behind an HEB in the parking lot before dropping the victim off at school. The document also states that Carter would bring the victim here to the Greater Bible Way Church in Sunnyside, where he had an office, and rape her.
She's had an episode where she ended up in the hospital, for psychiatric reasons.
The warrant states she secretly had Carter's baby.
What if she would have died that night? She has a baby in the closet.
How do you, as a father, sit here and have a conversation with me and tell me that y'all knew all of this time that this woman, this young girl, secretly had this monstrous... You know what the funniest part about this whole situation is? You know what the saddest thing about this whole thing is? Is that 10 times out of 10, and this is what I keep telling y'all over and over and over again, you know who the predators are in your family, in your church, in your community. Y'all all know. You see it. You know it. It's familiar to you. You've protected it. Listen, this is not something that's new. This is not something that's new. secretly had a child? How do your child secretly have a child? That don't even make sense. How does your child secretly have a child? You can't tell me that you don't know. How do you not know? I know everything there is to know about my daughter. When my daughter was thinking about doing something that she wasn't supposed to do, I was like, you walking too fast to the refrigerator. Why you want some snacks this late at night? I'm not playing no games. I know everything. I know the nature of my daughter. I know if she's lying. I know if she blinked twice or she winked once. I know if she moved left before she moved right, what her sentiment is. I know when she's feeling down. I know when she's feeling excited. I know when she's feeling whatever it is. If she's too tired, if she needs to lay down and go to sleep on the weekend instead of going out and having a good time. I know every single thing there is to know. I pay super attention. There's no way that you can sit here and tell me that you do not know what is going on with your kids or in your household if you are an active parent or an active father. Just tell me that y'all, come on, man. I know whether or not a chick is for the streets or not within 10 minutes of meeting her and having a conversation. Oh, yeah, that one for the streets. Yeah, that one for the streets. You ain't got to tell me your body count. I already know. I see the way you moving. If you would give it up to me on the first night, what makes you think that you wouldn't give it up, that you ain't gave it up before? How do y'all, we know who the predators are in our communities.
By herself. And he came and got the baby and took the baby to a fire station and dropped the baby off.
With many questions, we went to Carter's address listed on the warrant. But no one seemed to be home, so we called him.
The person you are calling is not available. Record your message at the tone.
No answer. While the warrant has been filed, we understand that Carter has not been taken into custody at this time. As for the baby mentioned in the story, the father you heard from says his daughter is in the process of trying to get the child back. Reporting live outside of HPD headquarters tonight, Devin Clark, KPRC 2 News.
Where the mama at? Where's everybody at? I just want to know where everybody at. Because, see, this is deeper. This go deeper than the predator that allegedly is being charged with and arrested as a result of this. This is way deeper than that. I need to know everything and what is going on in these communities to where y'all are continuing to allow for this stuff to play out and then think that it's society's fault or blame it on systematic oppression or blame it on the man or blame it on whoever it is that y'all can find that ain't even got nothing to do with y'all will sit here and blame me for calling out the BS of what's happening in your community, but you won't hold the very people accountable that you see doing this egregious stuff within y'all own households. Stay safe. Stay safe. Stay very, very safe out here.